Welcome back. My name is David Hopper, and this video is part of a 26-part series that follows the alphabet from A to Z. Each letter represents an important part of the launch process for new ministries, new campuses, and new churches. In this video, we're talking about our neighbors. Well, how we connect with our neighbors, if you will. This is how you know our world has gotten a little weird. How odd would it be to just go over to your neighbor's house and say hello? Now, I know some of you are the weird ones that openly goes around and makes conversation on a weekly basis with all your neighbors, but you are not the norm. And I'm not talking about the first month. Everyone gets a pass on the first month, and if we're honest, it's usually really the first week. We can bake some cookies, meet the new neighbors, but once you forget the name for like the third time, it's over. What happened? This wasn't always the case. Remember those times when everyone used to hang out on the porch and they knew everything about each other? Okay, I don't either. But I think the generation right before me or just before that one actually had that. The new one that appeared that I actually really liked was the neighborhood coffee shop. I'd gotten pretty good at knowing everyone at the coffee shop, walking around, talking with people, meeting new people. I would say that worked really well for like 20 years. But even that has disappeared. What's the new neighboring activity in our world? I'm going to challenge you with this video. Let's go back in time and make it just plain knowing our neighbors again. When I say know our neighbors, I mean you know the names of their kids, you know what they're into, you know their religion, their birthdays, and so much more. You make your neighbors friends. Now, there's a risk involved with this. If things go bad with a neighbor, they're really hard to avoid. But I'm going to encourage you, this one's worth the risk. As we talk about this part of launching something new, first, we're going to talk about it at a personal level, and then we'll talk about it on a macro level to reach a community. As we talked about in week 1, and we looked at our personal assessments, the key to launching things in this world, the key to this world, in my humble opinion, is people. If you're doing this life alone, then you've missed a key element of why God created you in the first place. Fellowship with other people. Relationships with other people are hard, but they matter. Jesus Christ showed as the ultimate example of this when, as God incarnate, in human form, he got on his knees and he washed the disciples' feet. Those he loved and was teaching how to follow him in actions. He humbled himself and washed their dirty feet. And then he follows that action by saying, and catch this, as you have seen me do, now you do. God has created within us a strong desire for fellowship. And as we learn to do this well, our relationship with God will also grow. Some people are extroverts. They love being around people all the time. Others are introverts and are strengthened by their times alone. I personally enjoy times of being alone so that I can recharge from the stresses of life. However, I realize the value of fellowship, and I therefore strive to balance the times I spend in solitude with the times that I spend with others. The Bible speaks of fellowship a lot. In Hebrews 10:24 it says, "And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds. Let us not give up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but let us encourage one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching." I love and care about people, especially in leading them to know Jesus Christ and awakening them to this knowledge of heaven and where they're going to spend eternity. Ray Stedman explains in the book Body Life, the church is not to be a conglomeration of individuals who happened to agree upon certain ideas. It is bound together as an organism in a bodily unit. It is true that a body is an organization, but it is much more than an organization. An organization derives power from the association of individuals, but a body derives its power from the sharing of life. When the Fawcett's Bible Dictionary speaks of the church, it says, The church in the New Testament never means the building or house of assembly, because church buildings were built long after the apostolic age. It means an organized body whose unity does not depend on its being met together in one place, not an assemblage of atoms, but members in their several places united to the one head, Christ, and forming one organic living whole. So why go to a building at all, right? That's where people usually go with this. Now, while it is true we can do church anywhere at any time, the fellowship of believers in one place at one time allows us to experience a powerful truth in our relationship with Christ. For our fellowship with others, it helps us grow closer to Christ. Dr. Alan Lloyd McGinnis, in his book, The Friendship Factor, he points out the crucial need for friend relationships by saying this: in research at our clinic, my colleagues and I have discovered that friendship is the springboard to every other love. Friendships spill over onto the other important relationships of life. People with no friends usually have a diminished capacity for sustaining any kind of love. On the other hand, those who learn how to love their friends tend to make long and fulfilling marriages, get along well with the other people at work, and enjoy their children. Koinonia is the Greek word in the Bible that translates to our English word of fellowship. We first have koinonia with our Father in heaven, and then that leaks over to koinonia with others. This isn't some kind of handshake or a brief hug that we observe in hallways or in some kind of social settings. This is that deep fellowship that we experience when we play together, we eat together, we enjoy life together with those whom we care about. Sometimes it takes effort to arrange times of being together in order to develop our relationships and create that greater bond of love. But as you make the effort to incorporate times of fellowship with others, along with all the other habits that you've built into your life, you'll begin to see how sharing yourself with others results in spiritual growth, not only in your own personal relationship with Christ, but it overflows into the lives of others as well. This is the key in whatever you're launching. You must spur the concept of relationship, friendship, and the building of true love and care for one another that goes beyond just accomplishing a mission that you put out there. At its core, the mission will have to be about people. Are you teaching people to care and build real relationships with others? This will make the thing that you're launching grow exponentially faster, as long as you are sincere in your desire to help people connect with more people. Why? Because they were created to do just that. The homework for this week is a simple one. I'm being facetious. Invite some people over to your house for dinner this week. So if you're a married couple, invite several other couples over so that you can begin experiencing life with other people. I always try and do this in multiples of 10 because with so many personalities, maybe if one doesn't click, it's still full of people in the room, and it helps with some of those awkward early moments in getting to know new people. Now, it's not that differences are bad, but until we have a chance to get to know them, it's nice to have that group when you first start. Over time, as you get to know others, you celebrate those differences, and they are great. One of the first things that God said when he looked at his creation in Genesis chapter 2, verse 18, "Then the Lord God said, it is not good for man to be alone." What a profound thought, that God creates the entire world, and it's stunning. Then God creates man, which is the most fascinating thing of all. This man's able to think and work and create and feel and so much more. And God says, it's not good for man to be alone. How can we miss the magnitude of that prophetic word? God's saying in no uncertain terms that we're not meant to be alone. We're meant to experience life with others. Now, indeed, our relationship with God grows as we experience life with others. And is it any surprise that the enemy, Satan himself, wages an all-out war against marriages, relationships, families, friendships? Of course. He wants us to think that we don't need each other and we're just as well off by ourselves. But he's a liar. His attack is on something that God saw within the first few seconds of creating the world. John 13:34, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so must love one another. By this, all men will know that you're my disciples if you love one another. As we think bigger with what we're launching and how we're reaching our community, I want you to look at a website. It's called mapcustomizer.com. The link will be in the description and also come up on the screen. But as you think about neighboring with what you're launching, use this website to plug in every address that you get through your information cards or however you're collecting data. And as you plug in these addresses, you're going to get a grid like this one. What you will see is based on the centralized location of what you're launching, there will be people from every surrounding neighborhood. Now imagine each of these people having dinners in their home with 10 people from their neighborhood. I mean, what if we created this core value in what we're launching of neighboring? Can you begin to see the power and influence that it's going to have in your community? It is something you would never be able to do on your own. You could not have the impact by yourself of what all these homes and people can do as you launch this concept. So your homework, assignment number 2, is take the data that you've already built in and put it in that first map and present the concept of neighboring to your team. Get each person on your team to then reach out to 10 people within their neighborhood, which could be just 3 or 4 other couples. Have them over for dinner. What you'll find is this will exponentially grow what you are launching. There are also other websites available that churches use to pray for their neighbors. I was surprised by this. You can pretty much find out any neighbor's name, how many people live there, their families' names, and so much more. It's actually a bit scary how much information is out there about each of us because of the information that was collected when we bought our home. We may not like this on a personal level, but we might as well use the information to pray for our neighbors and eventually get to know our neighbors for a greater good. The key with this homework is to just do it. If we get out there and start praying for our neighbors, prayer walking the neighborhoods, walk the dog, play with the kids in the front yard, etc., you will make connections with your neighbors. And as you invite neighbors over for dinner and you get everyone on your team to do this, you will see the message of Jesus Christ spread like wildfire. It is awesome. It just takes us starting. I think this might be the hardest homework of all the assignments I've given to you. Do it anyway. And I can't wait to talk to you about it in our next coaching session. I look forward to hearing how you connected with your neighbors and how your team has begun to connect with their neighbors. Next time, we'll be talking about O, which is over communicate. It's a very fun one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.